like this may well be it. Yeah, we're going down. Ocean's fast approaching and there's a screeching sound. Found that little old black box that they all listen to. Last words that were spoken were, what would Bob do? 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 Knocking on the pearly gates made of precious stone, looked kind of otherworldly. Inside there was a throne. I was led in by a stranger who I'd seen somewhere before. I thought, well, it'll come to me here in the evermore. Suddenly from out of nowhere a vision did appear. It was my old granddaddy. He said, son, what are you doing here? Well, it wasn't in my plans, you know, I done come unstuck. I lay down on my hands and I just run all out alone. He said, well, if you can pot the black, you know it's not the cue. Maybe time to ask yourself, what would Bob do? 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 Well, just find yourself on the ballroom floor. No, you cannot get away, you cannot reach the door. Just try to relax yourself, sit down on your hips. You don't have to move too much and try not to lick your lips. Things seem to be working and she hasn't moved away. You can breathe a little easier and think of what to say. Spin around and she is gone, you know it's not with you. Maybe time to ask yourself, what would Bob do? 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 Standing by my house at night, going up in flames and smoke. I was losing everything, it really was no joke. To cap it off, I'm naked and there's people all around. I see an old dog barking, but I couldn't hear the sound. The only thing that I could hear that came out of the blue was a voice inside my own head saying, what would Bob do? 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 As luck would sometimes have it, the good Lord was in my dream. He was smiling sweetly and was wearing Lincoln green. I asked if he would come again, if the rumors were all true. Thought a while and spoke and said, now what would Bob do? 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 As the lights they all came down, I was standing by the stage. He was cloaked in darkness and his face it showed no age. I took one step closer just to get a better view. I swear I saw him smile and say, now what would Bob do? 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 I suddenly awakened and I simply can't pretend to understand the way of things and how it all may end. If the question's simple, say, do I wear red or blue? There the times you ask yourself, what would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do? What would Bob do?